Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Inner Peace Workshop. I'm Todd Scholl, and this is episode 5, Mindfulness and Duty. I hope that over the past week you've had an opportunity to practice the mindful body scan that we talked about in episode 4 for at least 10 minutes per day. It's a really great way to find sources of tension in your body and help relieve that tension, unwind that tension, and center yourself. I also hope that you've been able to continue that mindful breathing technique that we've discussed so that you can continue to understand and see the benefits of that particular practice. I like to use the mindful body scan when I notice that there's signs of tension in my shoulders and in my back, and then segue into some mindful breathing. It's a really great way to unwind and center myself. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about duty. And I have to be honest with you, I never enjoyed duty. I don't know if you do, but duty is something that when it came time to do, I was always like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. And it was something I always sort of did grudgingly and never really learned to enjoy until I started practicing mindfulness. And while I never really was thrilled to go to duty, I had a whole different perspective, and my mindset shifted when I started using mindfulness, and then I would go to duty. Because what was happening was, before, when I was doing duty, I always was thinking about all the stuff that I still had to do back in my classroom, the papers I had to grade, the plans I needed to create, all of the different things, tidying up, and the list, that agenda list that seemed to never end. And I kept thinking while I was in duty, well, I've got all these things to do, man, I can't wait till duty's over so I can go back and get them, hopefully have some time left over to get it done. And I also thought about, when it was really cold in the morning and I'm doing duty, I kept thinking, man, it's really cold out here. This isn't great. I want to be inside where it's warm. Or if it's really hot out one day and I had bus duty after school, I kept thinking, well, I can't wait to get back inside where it's cool. There was always something that I was thinking about that was sort of in conflict with the present moment. See, when I was doing duty, I was never at peace with what I was doing in the present moment. I was always wishing I was somewhere else doing something else. And that added a layer of misery on top of doing duty that just really did make it a miserable experience. And I don't know if you've had that same experience or not. But in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about how we can approach duty mindfully, and how when we approach it mindfully, it can make duty maybe not your favorite thing to do, but a little less painful and a little bit more enjoyable than it has been in the past. So I hope that you enjoy this episode and get something out of it. We're going to talk about my top tips for bringing mindfulness to your duty. So let's talk about some tips for bringing mindfulness to duty, making it a little bit more of a pleasant experience. Number one, you have to accept that you've got to do it. I mean, you got to really accept it. It's part of your job. You're a teacher, and teachers have to do duty. Now, if you're one of those lucky teachers that doesn't have to do duty, you can go ahead and skip this episode. But if you're not, and you were like I was, you need to learn to accept that it's part of your job. And of course, if you feel like there's something that needs to change about the way duty's done at your school, or you feel like you can make a trade with somebody who is willing to trade with you, and that would make it fit into your schedule better, then certainly those are actually mindful things to do. But fighting about it in your mind and saying, oh, I shouldn't have to do this, I hate doing this, that's not really going to help make the experience any better. And being a part of being a teacher sometimes is doing things that we don't really love to do. But we can change that mindset, and we can approach duty at least without the negativity. And that brings us to tip number 2. We have to stop the negative inner and outer dialogue about duty. So when you catch yourself thinking or saying, hey, this really stinks, and complaining to other people, note that negativity. Don't beat yourself up about the negativity, but note your negativity. Note that, hey, I have these negative thoughts, or I just talked to somebody and we had a negative conversation about duty. And what I want you to do is to note that, and then shift your attention to the present moment without judgment. Don't engage in negative conversations with others about duty if you can. And if you notice that you do, again, it's not about beating yourself up. It's just noticing that this negativity is being generated by your mind, and that you can really shift that to just being focused on the present moment and sort of shutting off the lifeline to that negativity that's going on in your mind. Number 3, keep your focus on what's in front of you. Don't allow your mind to generate thoughts regarding all the things that are left on your to-do list. That's really easy to do. When we're on duty, we can think about all these other things that we have left to do. Instead, just focus on being there in the present moment right now. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Is there a situation that requires your intervention? Just stay focused on what's in front of you at that particular present moment. So number 4, be all in, all present for your duty. Embrace it. Do it well. Great teachers fully engage their hearts and minds while they're teaching. Well, great teachers can bring those same qualities to their duty. And so what I mean by this is really try to be there in the moment. Be completely present for your duty, not thinking about all the things you have to do in the future or all the things in the past, but focused and present for the duty, and do it well. Number 5, calmly respond to rules or procedure violations. Yelling and negative tones, they don't accomplish anything. Apply the rules consistently and fairly without tainting the enforcement with all these negative emotions. If a student or parent responds to you in harsh words, and I've seen parents who are, they're really can be uptight or upset in the morning or in the afternoon in particular, or if you have a student who's being really negative with you or having a negative tone, it makes no sense to mirror that negative tone or those negative words back to the parent or the student. All that does is increases the emotional energy of that interaction. So instead, you can just observe that there's this stormy ocean going on from beneath the surface without getting caught up in the storm. So you can see all this negativity that this person in front of you, or that you're experiencing this situation with. You see that they have this negativity. You don't have to be drawn into that. You can stay present and respond to them in a way that's calm and reasoned without being caught up in those negative emotions yourself. And if a student is breaking rules, you don't have to get emotional and upset about that. And that's one of the things that I had a hard time with, because sometimes on duty it's like the students are over and over and over again are violating the same type of rule. And so what we want to do is stay focused, stay present, understand and accept the fact that that's going to be part of doing that duty. It's going to be a part of it is going to be some behaviors that aren't fun to deal with. But we can extend compassion to the human beings that we're interacting with. We can have this heart of equanimity and calm and peace that we bring to those situations. And understand that the person that we're dealing with may be going through some really difficult inner turmoil. The student or the parent may be having some really serious personal issues and personal problems, and they're just taking some negativity out on you in that situation. And rather than making it worse, we can just be that calm force, that calm in the face of negativity. But it takes practice, and I don't want to ever give anybody the impression that I've mastered that, because I'm way far away from that. But we just can continue to practice this mindfulness, these mindfulness practices, the mindful body scan, the mindful breathing, and then over time we can build it up like a muscle. We can build up our patience and our tolerance for these types of situations. Number 6, look for positives. Is the weather nice? Is there a conversation that you can start that would have a positive impact on a student, a parent, or a colleague? How can you get involved in your duty to make it a more positive experience, not only for yourself, but for the people that are around you? Wave, smile, share compliments. Be happy to be there and be alive. Your positivity will be contagious to the people around you. There's always something positive that you can find when you're doing duty. You could find, don't just be looking for the misbehaviors, look for the good things that students are doing and tell them about it as well. And that's one of the ways we have to shift our mentality in teaching, is instead of always looking for the disciplinary issues, we need to look for the positive things that are going on in our classrooms and in our schools, and make sure that we make note of that and comment on those things at least as much, if not more, than the things that are going wrong. So look for the positives. Number 7, if you have the opportunity, practice mindfulness before the duty. Even if you only have a minute or two to do this, take that minute or two and just breathe mindfully. Just, focus on your breath. Try to calm and settle yourself, and if you have more time, use that time, because it's a really great time before duty to practice mindfulness, because you can carry that over into your duty, and duty is a really interesting time to try to stay focused and mindful. It's a really, to me, a great training ground for being mindful. If it's not possible to practice right before your duty, at least try to establish that regular daily mindfulness practice like we've been talking about, to ensure that you're training your mind to be in the present. And then you can bring that training and you can recall that training when you're doing duty. Ultimately, we'd like to be able to recall that training at all times in our lives, but we have to take it one step at a time. Remember, you can always practice mindful breathing during your duty. You can focus on your breath during duty, and you could still be monitoring what's going on outside of you and address those things when they come up. But you can, just breathe, and that'll help you stay in the present moment. Number 8, if you lose your cool or allow negative thoughts to dominate during your duty, don't beat yourself up about it. Simply being aware that you've lost presence, that you've lost that mindfulness, that's a step forward. That is an incredibly important step forward, to be aware of the fact that you have lost connection with the present moment. And conditions are not going to be the same each day. Sometimes you're going to go into duty and it's going to be fairly straightforward and simple. Sometimes you're going to go into duty and there's going to be 15, 20 things that go wrong, or things that could potentially cause you stress. So, each situation is going to be different. Sometimes there's going to be a parent who just won't follow procedures, and that's going to be irritating to you, or a student who is just consistently breaking rules and testing your patience. Understand that patience is something that takes time to build, and mindfulness is something that it's going to happen over a period of time. It's not something you can just turn on like a light switch. It's something that we have to practice and remind ourselves of over and over again. And you're gonna lose your cool sometimes, and this is your intention to be mindful that's gonna fail from time to time. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just notice it and keep working to improve, and it will get better with time. And number 9, offer to cover duty. This is a weird one, but offer to cover duty for someone. And this seems kind of weird, especially if you're super busy. But if you do have some time in that week and you notice that someone's really stressed out, or someone's really having a tough week, or having some personal issues, offer to cover duty for that person. And that may seem kind of strange, but knowing that you are serving somebody else can really make duty incredibly fulfilling. There's something about the process of assisting and helping other people that can be very, very rewarding. And so if you do have the opportunity to cover duty for people from time to time, without being asked, that would be something that I would encourage you to do. So below this video, you're going to find a link to a PDF, which is handout number 5, geared towards this episode, with some reflection questions, a journal entry, and your homework. Your homework for this week is to continue practicing the mindful body scan for a minimum of 10 minutes each day. And when performing duty this week, I want you to take 10 mindful breaths beforehand, at least 10. If you have time for more, do that. Go into duty with the intention of being present throughout the entire experience. Carry over the skills that you've learned from our mindful breathing practice to your duty. When your mind begins to generate thoughts of past or future or negative thoughts, simply note those thoughts and then bring your attention back to the present moment. And look for ways to make a positive impact while you're on duty this week. Smile, observe, and just be there now. As always, you can connect with me in a variety of ways. You can find me on Facebook at Todd Andrew Scholl. You can find me on Twitter at Todd Scholl. You can email me at toddscholl@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, theinnerpeace.weebly.com. On the website, you're going to find a whole bunch of great resources if you are an educator and you're interested in mindfulness. So I really encourage you to visit that, and I also encourage you to share these resources with your colleagues so that they can start experiencing and exploring the practice of mindfulness. Well, thank you for watching this episode of the Inner Peace Workshop, Mindfulness and Duty. I hope that this week you will continue to do your mindful practices, whether it is mindful breathing or mindful body scan. Let's try to bump it up to like 20 minutes a day. If you want to do 10 in the morning, 10 at night, or all 20 at once, that's fine. But let's try to make sure that we're being consistent with that each day. Also, try to, the next time you have to go do some duty, remember the tips. Try to stay in that present moment. Try to find ways that you can be fully engaged in that duty, and try not, when you have those negative thoughts that enter your mind about the duty, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether you've got a million other things to do, try to be back to the present moment and fully accept that you need to be there now and just do that duty mindfully. See if that doesn't help you enjoy your duty a little bit more. So we'll see you next week, where we're going to be talking about a new mindfulness practice, Mindfulness Practice 3, a focus on walking. Until then, I'm Todd Scholl, and thanks for being a part of the Inner Peace Workshop.